Today's video is brought to you by ablmerch.com. I have a bunch of new designs over there, including the I Survived the Plandemic hats, t-shirts, stickers, mugs, and more through the link in the description box below.
I'm proud to nominate David Chitman to serve as the director of the AFT. David knows the AFT well.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Joe Biden doing a press conference. Well, probably not a press conference. It's probably like he'll be out there for about 5 to 10 minutes giving remarks, as they say, on gun control. Now, he's not done the remarks, quote unquote, yet, but we have the full text of them right on whitehouse.gov. And if you want to see that for yourself in full, I'll link to it in the description box below. Now, we're going to go through these piece by piece so I can just break it down for you. And like I said, everything that I will talk about will be in the box so you can see it and read it for yourself. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? And you see the headline right here, fact sheet, Biden-Harris administration announces initial actions to address the gun violence public health epidemic. Now, I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm going to just get to the bolded points so we can see what he's going to talk about in this little talk. First thing, the Justice Department within 30 days will issue a proposed rule to help stop the proliferation of ghost guns. Now, what is a ghost gun? Let's see if they answer it. And if they don't answer it properly, I'll answer it properly. We are experiencing a growing problem. Criminals are buying kits containing nearly all the components and directions for finishing a firearm within as little as 30 minutes. I'm not sure about that one. And using these firearms to commit crimes. When these firearms turn up at crime scenes, they often cannot be traced by law enforcement due to the lack of a serial number. The Justice Department will issue a proposed rule to help stop the proliferation of these firearms. Now, the reality is that most guns used in crime, which is like inner city, drugs, gangs, or whatever, these are handguns that guys buy on the street illegally. You're not going to have guys in their house machining guns. That's generally not what's going on. Only like some gun enthusiasts is really going to be able to do that for the most part. And they're not going to be selling them because it's perfectly legal to buy certain things. Like, matter of fact, I'm going to show you what you can buy and see if I can pull it up right quick. Okay. Here is a 80% lower. That's what they're talking about. This is the main part of a ghost gun. This is no advertisement. I have no connection to these people. I'm just pulling this up so you can see what I'm talking about. This is what they're talking about. So you see there's nothing on this. There's no trigger. You have to actually build all of these parts in there. And the average normie just wants to go out there and shoot. They're not going to want to do all this. They're not going to be sitting there machining the gun. This is not a firearm. This is not operable at all. So yes, you can get this legally without having the background check because it's not a firearm. It doesn't have the components to be a firearm. Okay, it's an incomplete, it's an unfinished, what they call lower. Now, you can buy a finished lower, but that is considered a firearm, and you got to be able to go through a gun store to get that. Like if you buy it online, if you have a finished lower with the trigger, all of that, that has to go to a gun store, and you pick it up from the gun store. You got to pass a background check or whatever the laws in your state are. Okay, but the way this is right here, yes, that can be shipped straight to your door with no federal firearms license or an FFL or anything of this sort. You can just get that shipped straight to your house. This is not a very common thing, but what it does, to get back to this, what it does is it prevents the government from being able to track your every movement. That's really what's going on at the end of the day. When they're talking about it being used in mass shootings, that's not necessarily the case. I've not really heard of that happening. That's just usually what happens. People buy guns illegally or they get them legally while passing a background check. That's usually what happens. Your regular, average, everyday normie is not going to be a machinist. Well, let's move on. The Justice Department within 60 days will issue a proposed rule to make clear when a device marketed as a stabilizing brace effectively turns a pistol into a short barrel rifle, subject to the requirements of the National Firearms Act. The alleged shooter in the Boulder tragedy last month appears to have used a pistol with an arm brace, which can make a firearm more stable or more accurate while still being concealable. Well, this is halfway true, and there's some truth in here, but there's some obvious lies. Okay, matter of fact, let's check this out. Okay, this is what you would call an AR pistol. Okay, on the back of it is what you call a stabilizing brace. This is not a stock. Now, if this was a rifle stock, this would turn it into a short barrel rifle, which you have to get a tax stamp for. And if you don't get a tax stamp, like if you take an AR pistol and put a rifle stock on the back of it, that turns it into an SBR. And that's actually not legal to do that without a tax stamp, without getting the government's permission to do that. Now, this arm brace is meant to go on your arm and stabilize it. It's not meant to be shouldered like this. Now, you can shoulder that the way it is here, but you're not supposed to. Matter of fact, let's see if I can find another picture. See, you're not actually supposed to do that, but you can do it because this is like really a pistol, but it could be a short barrel rifle. Having the barrel shorter than 16 inches, which is obviously is probably about 10 inches. This is an arm brace that's supposed to go like that. That's the way it's supposed to be to stabilize it. And that's what the guy in Colorado had. So that right there is the same as this for the most part. But that appears to be more like a stock than that, which is kind of interesting, but that's a different story. Now, let's go and see. This is an actual rifle. This is probably like a 16-inch, maybe a carbine or something like that. This is a typical AR-15. And I had a gun just like that before I lost it in a tragic boating accident. But you could put all kind of attachments like a sight and 4 grips, vertical grips, so you can kind of hold it like that and stabilize your hand on it. And flashlights, all kind of stuff. And on the back of it is what you have. That's a rifle stock. It's, you can, right here, you can push up on that and adjust it forward and backward. That's a rifle stock. So if you put that on that right there, then you got a problem. And going back to this, these are different kinds of braces and stocks. Well, not stocks. These different kind of braces you can have on a pistol. But if you put this on the back of it, that makes it a rifle, a short barrel rifle, and you got to get a tax stamp for that. So they want to be able to remove these so you can't shoulder it. That's really what it is. All right, because it's kind of a battle right now going on. It's like, okay, can you shoulder that? Like, is it an SBR? What is it? They want you to not have that option at all to prevent you from having the SBR or what could be considered an SBR legally by not having the rifle stock on it, if that makes any sense. Let's keep on going here. Justice Department within 60 days will publish a model red flag legislation for states. Now, I know what that is, red flag laws. Basically, if you have a family member or if you have a family member or if law enforcement see that you could be a threat to yourself and others, they may be able to take your arms without having the warrant. They can go into your house with no warrant and take your arms. But I thought that no-knock warrants were bad when it comes to Breonna Taylor. But when they say no warrant, take your firearms, that's good all of a sudden. How does that really work? And here's the last one I really want to get to. The president will nominate David Chitman to serve as director of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF. Okay, now, David Chitman, this guy was involved with prosecuting the Waco situation, all right? And he did an AMA on Reddit, which went totally bad. It really went bad, okay? Now, that's him right there. I'm going to get to that, what you just saw in a moment, but this is him. Let me see if I can just lower this right quick. There we go. So that's him, and he did an AMA, and it went totally bad. Let's go back to what I just showed you. It says at Waco, cult members used 2 50 cal Barretts to shoot down 2 Texas Air National Guard helicopters. Point, it is true. I'm going to read something that's not shown right here. Point, it is true. We are fortunate they are not using crime more often. The victims of drug lords massacre are not so lucky. America plays a role in fueling the violence south of the border. Now, he got super ratio on this. The ratio was crazy. I mean, because what he says right here is not even true. Yes, some of the Branch Davidians did shoot 50 cals at the helicopter, but it didn't get shot down like some type of fiery crash, some type of mushroom cloud or nothing like that. That's not what happened. They fired at the helicopters, Nobody in the crew got hurt, and they decided to go ahead and land because it was dangerous being up in the air being shot at. Now, that's not the equivalent to being shot down. That's landing because you're in danger. All right. So what he said right there was very misleading. Also, the question was, were you shooting at them first? The whole Waco situation was handled terribly. And if this guy trying to talk about Waco and all this and that, where they killed children, they burned children alive, and they didn't have to do that, if he's trying to use that as an example of how he's going to be in the ATF, and this was last year, by the way, so it probably was already kind of in motion. But anyway, if you want to use your experience at ATF as the reason why you should be the ATF director, that might not really be a good thing to talk about Waco at all. But the gun control measures here, I don't think will actually have the impact that they think it will, or that normies think it will, because like I was saying, most of the gun violence is inner city, handguns bought illegally, not ghost guns and people going online and buying receivers and machining. That's just not what's going on. All right. That's not what's happening. You could do all the reports you want, invest all the money that you want. But if you letting 13 and 15-year-old girls carjack an old Asian man and kill him and give him slaps on the wrist as a result, you're not going to impact the crime that's happening, which is the ultimate problem. You could talk about braces and all this and that. That's not really going to get her done. There's shortages right now of a lot of guns. You go to the gun store, they're kind of out. So why not be able to machine your own gun for your own personal use, for your own personal protection? Why not be able to do that? Why can't I shoulder my AR pistol? What's the deal? What's the problem? And then they talked about, before I close, I'm going to say one last thing. They said you can conceal an AR pistol. Really? No, but you got to have you're going to conceal it in a book bag or a duffel bag or a suitcase. You're not going to have that in your waistband. You're not going to appendix carry no big 10-inch AR pistol with a stock and sights, and you're not going to be able to do all that with that. But as I close, I want to say this. The gun control measures are not going to help with the crime. Like I said, if you got 13 to 15-year-old girls out here killing people as they carjack them and you give them slaps on the wrist, that's the ultimate problem right there. You're not having punishments appropriate for the crime in which people have committed in these areas with very high crime. That's the issue. Fix that. You can fix the problem with the gun violence. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Joe Biden's gun control measures will be successful, unsuccessful? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about David Chitman, the guy that wants to talk about accomplishments, quote unquote, in Waco as some kind of resume, a positive thing in the resume, a positive feather in the hat? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys pretty much know where I stand. This gun control stuff does nothing but hurt regular, everyday normies, civilians, citizens. You got guys out there in the street with fully automatic Glocks. There's a switch you can buy. I don't know where to buy it. I don't know how to buy it. I know nothing. But you can buy a switch that turns your Glock pistol into a fully auto pistol. You got guys out there in the streets with that. So if you got 4 or 5 of these guys home invading you with fully automatic Glocks, and you've been regulated down to some kind of flintlock pistol, what are you going to be able to do? How are you going to defend yourself? You can't defend yourself. So let's not impose laws on law-abiding citizens, and let's enforce laws on people that break it when they kill, rob, shoot, loot, steal. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.